Now, Tzaddik V'Ralo. The guy's in heavenly courts. He gets all his answers. And the Yetzer Hara is saying, but big deal, of course he was righteous. There was nothing hard in his life. It all came to him easy. God says, he has a case that he did everything right. You have a case that he had nothing better to do with his time, so we shouldn't give him any credit for it. It's an interesting question. We're putting it on hold. Next guy. Next guy that comes in is his neighbor. Mr. Poor Man. God tells him, how was your life? He says, it was pretty hard. He says, what was hard about it? He says, I was broke. Even the Gemara says, Ani chashuv kimet. Somebody who doesn't have money, b'menan, says if he's dead. You can't live. Without, you have to be able to pay bills. Without that, you can't. You have no life. You're always worrying. You're always stressed. It's a terrible thing. Hashem should never test any Jew with such a thing. And Hashem should bless us with wealth on condition, and say amen after the condition, that the majority of our wealth we always give away immediately. Amen. That's the condition. Without that, it's not worth being wealthy. But for the majority of our wealth, not 10%, the majority, we give away immediately, not to be tested that once it's in the bank it doesn't come out. Certain people's banks are an enter-only policy. One-way road. Yeah, it's not a joke. I have acquaintances that are extremely successful in business against the laws. They're young, uneducated immigrants that came to the United States in the past few years. Arabic is their first language. They're Syrian Jews. English they barely know. If they had to write me a text message, I have to be some genius to understand it, because they can't even use spell check in the right context. So nothing there makes any sense. And they're worth fortunes of money. And the common denominator between all of them is their policy is when they get paid a broker's fee on a deal, they cash the check, distribute 51%, and then deposit the other 49%. So they should never have the temptation of putting the 100% inside. And there's not broker deals on $100,000 homes. We're talking about large numbers of money. When Hashem sees that that's a person's incentive to make money, he says, who's a better shliach to send them the money to than that? Now, of course, one who's barely making money to make ends meet is not allowed to give numbers like that. There's halachot, you give 20% and not more. But once you surpass a certain number and you're able to live comfortably, so then at that point, of course, you should show God that the majority you recognize to Him. Ani chashuv v'kimet. The Gemara says you don't have money, but I mean, no. Terrible thing, and that's why the greatest mitzvah we could do is help out those who are struggling financially. The greatest mitzvah there is in the Torah is to help out those who are struggling financially. There is nothing greater than that. So God says, what else did you do with your life? He says, I worked. How much did you work? He said, mitzayt tachama, tzayt neshama. The Israelis can appreciate that. From early morning till pretty much I was dead tired, we call it in English. Took over my life. So what about shul? He said, God, I wanted to go to shul every day. I couldn't. What should I do? I had to be at work. What about learning? Couldn't learn either. God tells him, what about Shabbat? He says, God, Shabbat, I was so tired from the whole week. I fell asleep Friday night by Kiddush. So luckily, normally the cup made it to the table first. So I couldn't keep my eyes open. What Shabbat? I slept. That's what I did. He said, and what are your feelings about your life? He says, let me tell you, God. I have very interesting feelings. I had a neighbor who used to sit and learn all day. And I was never jealous of anybody or anything, and not even of his wealth. There was one thing in my life that I was always jealous of, that he can go pray and learn and I can't. And God says, Gan Eden. And the black angel comes and says, what Gan Eden? The guy just admitted, he pleaded guilty, he never learned, never prayed, never went to shul, never anything. And God said, okay, let's bring out the scale. And they brought out the scale and they put all his wasted time and all his effortless things and all his effort, to the good or the bad, on the scale. And it wasn't looking too good for Mr. Poor Man. And then God said, wait a second, but you forgot the most important part. Put all his envy and desire and yearning to be able to study Torah on the other side of the scale. And instantly, the scale tipped and he went to paradise. God calls back rich man and he says, we're in a status quo, I don't know what to do, we're going to put it on the scale. And I put his Torah, mitzvot, and chesed, and everything else he's done in his life on the scale, and it was looking really promising. It was a no-brainer. This guy did so many good things in his life, it was unreal. And then God said, but wait a second, let's put on the other side what he could have done with such means, what he could have done with so much time on his hands, what he could have done with so many abilities, and so many talents, and so many skills, so many gifts that I gave him. And he didn't do. and it didn't look too good anymore. Comes Rabbi Yakov Galinsky in his Sefer, the Hagid, but I heard it from him live before he passed away many times. And says an amazing thing. The Gemara says the two people went to court, and Beit Din obviously, and they had a dispute over money. And one said he owes the money, the other one said he doesn't owe it for whatever reason. And Beit Din gave a verdict that he owes the money and he has to pay. And they asked him, how do you plan on paying? And he says, I'm not paying. So he said, what do you mean? We said you have to pay. They said, I want to pay, I just don't have. They said, what do you mean you don't have? You're wearing a coat. The coat's worth the $100 that you owe. Give him your coat. And now he lost his coat, and it's a cold winter day. And he's going to walk outside in the cold without a coat on his back. Should he be happy or sad? Should be pretty upset, right? His coat. He just lost his coat. What can get worse than that? You know what the Gemara says he should be? Happy. He should make a big celebration. Why? Because he paid back a debt. And paying back a debt is the greatest happiness in the world. Comes Rabbi Yakov Galinsky and writes, every single time you have a hardship or a hard day, and instead of being miserable about it, you take it in stride and with a positive attitude, and instead of being a pessimist about life, you try to be an optimist about life. And you say, even though technically I could say, Rali, it's so bad, my life is so evil, but deep down, Tovli, I'm so happy to be in this situation with all my challenges, because I can utilize it and grow from it instead of conceding to it. You now paid back a debt in Gan Eden. And after 120, you come to Shamayim with a perfectly clean slate. If you had an insurance policy that brings you to God clean, this is it. Take your struggle and turn it into something productive. Your greatest struggle in life as youngsters right now is social media. That might be your insurance for Olam Haba. Besides for your protection not to end up in other places, it'll also be your insurance for Olam Haba. Your second greatest struggle is social without the media, which no longer exists because of the media. Yeah, friends, the battle of friends. Today nobody trusts anybody anymore. And even the ones that we did trust, normally at a certain point or the other, turn their backs on us. It's painful, it hurts. If any of you have been through breakups, especially after a long time, you know what it's about. God forbid somebody was through a divorce, you definitely know what it's about. If you had parents that didn't have time for you, you know what it's about more than anybody else in the world. Because these are the people that are supposed to have all the time for you. And you weren't even worth it. It's very, very painful. Now, we can do one of two things. We can concede to it and play the victim card. And God's not going to blame us. We're right, we are victims. We're victims of a lot of baggage that we didn't choose, that was imposed upon us. Or we can choose to learn to do it better from here on. Comes Hashem and says, Ubachalta b'chaim. Choose the way of life. Choose to be a person of life, not a victim of struggle. Because that is what's going to keep you going. And then God gives you another promise. L'man tichi ata, not only for you, v'zarecha. You'll set the bar, you'll set an example for your children of how to deal with life. We have every outlet in the world, including the entertainment district, which is the largest financial machine in the United States of America, alcohol, illegally drugs, and others, in order to not deal with life. And unfortunately, these are all way too common and popularly used. And our goal is ubachalta b'chaim, to choose life. And somebody who chooses life, there's no more ralo. It's not bad for him anymore. It's great. Suddenly it's a beautiful thing. I went through a little episode, which most of us wouldn't want to go through, but I'm sure many of you have in your life. It's called implants. They stuck in a couple of teeth into my mouth because I was missing a few. Yeah, that's what happens. Young guy lives off of candy and ends up catching up with you sooner or later. Dentist was right. Yeah, he was. He always used to tell me, keep it up, buddy. I love Hershey's. They're great for you because they give me my living. And yeah, so $7,000 and a lot of blood and pain later, I got my teeth back. It was a really exciting moment. But in retrospect, I view it from an adult's perspective and say this. I didn't want to go. I actually pushed it off many times. You know how many appointments I canceled along the way that I had to get them done? I don't even want to tell you. And I actually am somebody who normally cares about how I look, but my fear of what I'm going to go through was greater than my care of my looks. And many other stages along the way. Then I had to part with thousands and thousands of dollars and time and a lot of other things as well. And when I look back, what do I say? It was worth the price. Because that was a few moments or a few dollars. And this is something that hopefully was done right and will last. Until the day that should never come that I'm going to need dentures instead. And then the only two teeth that are actually going to still be there are the implants and not the other ones. Whew, hey? Think about it. God forbid, I should never know what that is, nor should anybody else. But that was pretty blunt. Everything that you got in life for free, or everything that came easy to you in your life, at one point or the other, you're either going to lose or is going to be taken away from you. The few things in life that came to you hard, and that you actually worked for very hard, are the ones that are there to stay. So every time you have a challenge, you now know you have an opportunity. An opportunity to be there to stay. Guys, it's been a pleasure.